All right. Well, I'm Brian with Icon, and these are the Yaskawa drives. I guess we can start with the blowers first. And I wanted to point out too that when we did startup on the blowers, we added a temporary circuit, and it's what we did is tied a fault from the blower into the drive cabinet. We used the existing, I think it was blower enclosure over temp. So we used that circuit and brought just a general fault from the blower on all of them into the drive. So that's what that is. Until I guess all that gets ironed out. But if there's a fault out there, it'll shut the drive down and you'll see this general fault light on. And there's inside here too is a for that is a temporary relay, an interposing relay. So that's more for the electricians. If they look inside here, there's a relay that's not labeled. That's for this circuit because out there they had I think it was normally closed and we needed a normally open circuit, so I stuck a relay in here to make this work. So that's all temporary. All right. The controls on these, pretty straightforward. Hand-off remote. Out there at the blowers, there's a remote off switch. In fact, all the drives have a switch out there, remote or off. So when you're in the off position, it'll disable the drive. It won't run. So if you come in here, or if it's running or supposed to run a remote and it doesn't, then it's probably the switch out there at the pump or the blower. And I disabled on all of these the hand button on these on the keypad. I've disabled as well as a safety feature, because what this does would override these controls here, so that doesn't work anymore. So just be aware of that. The off button will still shut it down if somebody comes up and pushes it. If that does happen and you're in, say, remote, go to off and then back to remote and it'll run. When you're in hand, you're running from the speed pot here, and that'll control your speed. Now as soon as you go to hand, this will start. I bumped this one, so the switch out there is in remote because it will start. So and then you can control your speed, and all of these have a minimum speed in them, the blowers, that when the blower tech was here, we set that up per his specification. So even with the pot all the way down, it's going to run up to the minimum speed until you come up above that, and then you can control the speed. All these pilot lights are push to test. So if you need to test the lamp, but these are all LED and they seem to last forever. So reset button is for resetting one of these faults. If it latches, it also goes to the drive, so it will reset the drive too if there's a VFD fault. If there is a VFD fault, you'll see it here, there'll be an alarm light, and the drive will tell you, and this is on any of them, it'll give you an abbreviation for the fault, like OL for overload, and there's different overloads, OL 1, 2, 3, and it'll tell you motor overload, inverter overload, and so on, overcurrent, but it'll tell you right below it what the fault is. So it's pretty handy in troubleshooting. It'll tell you right where to look. I can't remember if I have, yeah, power loss is enabled on all these drives. So if we have just a momentary power loss or brownout, the drive will reset and restart. I did not put in auto restarts on these for all the other faults. Like if there is a hard overcurrent, overload, something like that, it'll remain latched out.
Yeah, that's good, because when the generator switches,
yeah,
we will have to come out here and reset.
That's, yeah. So that's the whole premise of that.
We do that once a week. We'll run our generator
Okay.
under load. We'll switch twice. So
Yeah, these will remain running. They'll reset, and as long as there's a run command, they'll come back on and run. I don't know if you're going to navigate the keypad at all, but the easiest thing on these, like U1 are the monitors, the U's are the monitor parameters, and there's different monitor groups, and you can scroll up or down using these function keys and scroll through the different monitors. If you want to go through and look at like DC bus voltage, output voltage, and so on, you can just up and down here. And then you can hit escape to go back to the beginning. And if there's a fault on the drive, there's another monitor group. If you arrow key up once, it will say monitor menu. Hit enter, and you use these arrow keys. This right cursor key is also a reset button, but you can cursor the blinking digits. So I can cursor over and it'll change this U1 for the U1 monitors, which are what's currently going on. If I go up one to the U2 group, it's a fault trace. It shows the current fault that's on the drive, and then you can scroll through the U2 monitors, and it's a snapshot of what happened during that fault. Were you running, what the speed was, what the current was, and so on. There's also a time and date stamp in there too. These keypads have a real-time clock in them, so it'll tell you the day and the time and everything when there's a fault. So I've got those all set up, so you can know when that fault happened. Let's see, the U3 group stores the last 10 faults on the drive, and it's got a like a first in first out buffer. So if you go past 10 faults, then it'll push the oldest one out, but it gives you a time and date stamp on when the fault was. Like, for example, the last fault on the drive was March 4th at 12:32, and that was an external fault date, which is what this general fault is tied into. So, and this is set up that it'll fault during run only. So right now, that's why the drive isn't faulted. If we were to run, it would there's a time delay in here. It would fault the drive in a few seconds and shut it off. And then these function keys, when you're in like different monitors and all that, the function 1 key becomes your home key. So if you want to go back to the very beginning, your home screen, you can either press that, or you can always push escape. Just keep pushing escape and it'll take you back to the very beginning. Faults will not reset on the drive unless you're in the off position. So if there's still a run command on the drive, it won't reset. That's a safety. So you want to make sure you're off, and then you can reset it. Elapsed time meter, that's pretty straightforward. These have filters on them. The larger drives here, the 75 horsepowers. Put that down. I think it's unlocked. Okay. So these are, replaceable filters. You can get the washable kind, but these are probably a lot easier to change out. And once this room is all closed up and everything, it'll probably be maybe every quarter, change the filters out. Just inspect them, make sure they're not horrible. So your best judgment, but yeah, at some point those will have to be changed. The smaller ones do not have filters. They're not, the cabinets aren't ventilated. Let's see. take a peek inside. And after you power down, you'll notice that the display stays on for a while. There's still power on the drive's DC bus, so the capacitors right now are discharging, so you should probably wait until that screen goes completely dead if you're actually going to get in the cabinet and do any kind of work. And there is a charge light. On every VFD has that little red LED. That'll stay on until the bus drops down to about 5 or 10 volts DC, and then you know it's safe to touch inside. And I wanted to point out too that the keypads are also copy units where you can store the program in here. So if you ever have to change a control board in the drive or change the entire drive, you can just take the program out of the keypad and dump it back into the drive, the new drive or new control board. So it makes it real easy for getting it back up and running. And on startup, on every one of these, I've backed up the program into the keypad. Inside here, right behind this cover, this is your Ethernet card. For your when you're running an auto, I didn't mention that remote is going to be from Ethernet serial communication, but that ties in here. So, and one thing I want to make sure is never plug it, because it's the same RJ45 type connector. Never plug that into the drive keypad port. I know it's the same, and it won't work, and it may damage the whatever's on the other end. So, but that's where the Ethernet card is here, underneath there. And it's the same for all of them, even the little drives. Inside the cabinet, we have on the larger ones here an input matrix filter, which is for harmonics, so that the power coming in stays clean.
We need that up here.
And then on the output, it has a DVDT filter, so the waveform that's actually going to the motor is clean, doesn't have the high spikes or pulses, and that's guaranteed to keep the peak voltage below 1,000 volts to the motor. So
Yeah, because we can get some pretty dirty power up.
yeah, and yeah, that's also there. That'll help if anything does come in, a transient or whatever. That'll help the drive, protect the drive as well. And then on these, all your controls are on the this side of it here. Control power transformer. Here's your control fuses, if those ever need to be changed. Because you do have control voltage going out to the field, so if a motor heater should short out, or you know, something from the field, you got the off remote switch. If any of those wires should short out, you could blow a fuse in here, and that would be a good culprit, a wire going out to the field. Any questions on these panels here? Okay. On these keypads, let me jump back on that. There is a little battery for backup for the real-time clock. Probably about 8-10 years down the road, that might need to be changed, but
If that goes out, would your screen just blank?
it'll just give you a battery. It'll tell you that the battery's, yeah.
Okay.
It'll let you know. But I've only seen that one time, so they seem to last a very long time.
You said how long? 10?
8 years or so. Yaskawa says like every 5 years, but these drives have been, the 1000 series have been out for probably 8-10 years or so. And I think I've changed 1 or 2 of those batteries now, and that's recent. So normally the keypad, you'll lose the backlight or something before that battery goes bad. So Okay. The drive does have a fan in it too. I mean, we have the cabinet cooling fan. Pulls air in, moves it up and out through the top of the cabinet. It's got these have the pagoda top, so that it vents out at the top. But the drive has a fan at the top of the drive as well, some cooling fans. And they're 24 volt DC fans. If those go bad, you'll get an overheat alarm on the drive. And they're pretty easy to change. They actually well, you'd have to get a ladder here, but in the top of the drive, it's like a cassette that racks out, and then the fans are plug and play. Put the new ones in, plug them in, and you're up and running again.
That cover just comes off and it
Yeah.
goes right in? Okay.
This cover comes off,
Okay.
and then in the top, you'll see like it looks like a cassette, and there's a handle on it. Yeah,
Okay,
that's where the fans are.
okay.
So it really doesn't take a whole. The hardest part is not to drop the screws in the drive, because it is screwed in. So that's my biggest caution on that. But
Use magnetic screwdriver.
yeah, that's exactly right. But yeah, these are pretty bulletproof. They'll tell you if there's anything going on, either with the drive or with the motor. So shouldn't have any issues. We normally don't. Usually, last time I see these are when I start them up, and that's it.
That's good.
I guess we can move down to one of the smaller ones.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If we had to go to hand and we had to use the local speed, it'll show the reading here. Is it in hertz?
Hertz.
It's not percentage,
Yeah.
it's hertz.
Yeah, we can
45 to 60 maybe, something range.
It'll be. I think the minimum on these are like 38 hertz.
Is it 38 on the big ones?
I think it was 38 on
38
these.
minimum.
I can tell you here.
Okay, what?
Yeah, but it was something like that on the bigger ones. I think it was 38 on these and maybe 42 on the smaller blowers. Something like that. Okay, I'll tell you here. Oh, you know what? It should be on the screen. It should go right to the minimum. Okay,
It was 20.
it's 20 hertz. I'm sorry, I'm off. So these must be the higher. I don't know if there's power on these. No. Anyway, these have a higher minimum speed, but yeah, it'll run straight to that first, and it's in hertz. Let's see. Where was I going? Okay, with these, pretty much the same thing. Same keypad, same way to navigate it. And like I said, these are copy units. If you ever had to change a board or the whole drive itself, the keypad can pop out, and you can just put this directly into the new drive and put the program in. All of the drives have this other port here, and this is a USB-B. And what that's for is there's a laptop software that Yaskawa has called Drive Wizard, where you can plug into the drive, pull the parameters out of the drive, program the drive, monitor, trend. It's pretty good support tool. You can do a whole bunch of different functions with it. But that's what goes in here. Plug your PC in there. These have the cooling fan as well in the back. I think these have just one, but they snap in and out right from the top real easy. And one mistake I've seen with these type of panels, a lot of people do is they'll set stuff up here And you don't want to do that because that blocks the airflow. So you want to make sure that this is open here and this is open here so that the drive can run and stay cool.
What are these drives for?
These are the two smaller blowers,
Oh, I see them down there.
the re-aeration blowers.
Yeah, I see them down there.
Yeah, they've got them labeled at the bottom, what they are, where they go to. Let's see. Let's see, we can look in smoke there. This one's open, we can look in this one. There's not a whole lot of controls to these.
Now we see the guys are on the way, so it's about over now.
Oh, is that the electricians?
Probably.
Okay. Well, we can, if they're coming here, I'll wait. Or do it over again.
He said he'll go through again if they want to come in and check. No? Okay.
Okay.
Probably busy.
Okay.
No, they're trying to beat the rain on a couple of.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's,
We've got the video.
all right. Inside,
Gene's pretty good on these things anyways.
yeah, there's not a whole lot to these smaller panels. We still owe you guys. There's going to be an input filter here, reactor, and then an output reactor as well, or DVDT filter. So a lot of these were, because of the supply chain issues, they had to leave those out. And you haven't seen those yet, have you? Not yet. So I'm going to install those when they get in here, but it'll have a reactor and an output filter and all of the ones that are missing them. So that's coming. Once again, control power fuses. The only difference between some of these is, like these down here have an additional circuit for flow if there's no flow, and the effluent transfer pumps, the RAS and WAS also have that too. There's a circuit for if there's no flow, it'll shut the drive down. These do not have that. But as far as the controls go, they're all pretty much very, very similar. The blowers are completely different. These lamps are not push to test like those, but they are LED, so they should last a long time as well. Same thing on these, hand remote, hand it runs. Actually, there's no speed pot on these, so you would control the speed from the keypad. I don't know if I can power any of these up. I can't really run them, can I? Internal recycle. Can any of these be run?
I'd have to go check out there.
Yeah. Well, if you do need to change the speed, it's from the keypad on these, not a speed pot. And you would just, up here would be the frequency reference. You would edit that speed with your arrow keys and then enter to do that. So that's the only difference. And of course these have an off remote out there in the field as well. So that has to be in remote for them to run. And let's see, I'm thinking I'm missing something. You guys have any questions?
When you name it, that speed changes, it's indicated as hertz?
Yeah, it's hertz. What would be better for you guys out here? What are you used to? You want
Hertz.
hertz? Okay. All right. Okay. Because we can change it to anything, to read anything.
Yeah, hertz is
RPM, percentage, flow, pressure. So, but yeah, as default, it's hertz. And of course 60 hertz is the max on all of these. So none of these have a minimum speed in them other than the blowers. So they haven't been completely set up yet. We didn't really get to do final testing. So, but at some point we'll probably put a minimum speed in them, or they might do it through the control.
Well, what we've noticed on some of our other equipment, like the RAS pumps, if they start off too slow, they won't clear the rags out of it.
Yeah.
It just tends to build up and stay there.
Yep.
But if you can run them at 100%, which we do, it'll blow it right on through.
Ah.
That's not normally where they're set.
Yeah.
Start. Now, they start about, I don't know, those are set at RPM. So let's say it's probably, they run them about 40, let's just say.
Okay.
And 40 isn't enough to clear the rags out.
We have a feature in the IQ pump called D-scale or D-rag, where after so many starts or hours or however you want to do it, it'll run them in reverse and you can designate how fast, how many times, you know, it does the change before it takes off and runs.
That's a
But
nice feature to have.
that's to de-rag everything. So
See, he probably won't have that problem here as bad as some of our plants because, well, first of all, he's got fine screen filters and it's new. But some of our older plants, we have a bar screen, and if that bar screen goes down, it's a manual bar screen.
Yeah.
And rags can pass right through that.
yeah,
And, you know, rags end up in plants anyways.
well if that becomes an issue.
Is that de-ragger thing set up like that, or do you have to? set that up?
It's already in the drive, it's disabled, so we just have to go in and program it. Just enable it and then tell it how many cycles do you want it to go, how fast do you want it to run reverse, and after so many starts it'll do it.
Okay.
Or I think you can set up for how many starts or how many hours. Like every 24 hours of operation, it'll automatically do a D-rag. So,
I'll get with Sean on that. See what he wants to do on that. But that's cool.
so.
That's pretty cool feature there.
Yeah, I know City of Tampa uses it quite a bit, so,
Well, because we'll get to where some of our pumps just quit pumping, and we have to go down there and pull them
yeah,
and pull the rags out, and some of them just have a fistful of rags that the pump people say them rags should pass through these pumps.
yeah,
But and the first thing they say is, how fast are you running them?
yeah,
And that's what gets us right there.
yep,
Says we bump them up to 100%, it blows them right through, and we're back in business again.
okay. Yeah, that's something that's easy to set up, so, yeah,
Okay, good, good.
we can do that if that's something you're interested in.
I'll get with my boss on that one and we'll see what he wants to do.
Okay.
Or we can always do that later on too.
Yeah.
I mean, Gene is very good with these things, so. You just have to familiarize himself with this one.
Yeah.
He's
Do-
good with that.
Do you have the Yaskawa drives elsewhere at all, or are these pretty
No, these is all new here.
new here, yeah? Well, you should be pretty happy with them. Set and forget is usually how it goes. I'll start them up, and like I said, that's the last time I see them. So, trying to think what I might have missed. Your Ethernet card, just like on the other ones, is right here underneath this cover. So there's the Cat 5 cable or Cat 6 cable coming up here, and it plugs in there. So
Do you come back the day of the startup?
they've all been started up, but I know there's going to be more refinements.
When we introduce wastewater,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you'll be here for that day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the real test.
Yeah. Yeah, we've checked rotation and ran some and verified flow and got amperage readings and all that good stuff, but not, completely in service yet. So, yeah, I know there's always going to be a little bit of tweaking. So,
Yeah,
How do you
because
pronounce
wastewater's a
that?
little heavier than
Yaskawa.
potable.
Yeah. Yeah, Yaskawa, just a brief history on them. They used to sell in the U.S. Under the name Magnatech. You might have seen Magnatech drives. And Magnatech also did lighting ballasts and motors and all that too. Saftronics, EMS, and IDM. There's 4 different partners. Well, around 2000, Yaskawa wanted to go direct with their name, and they ended up buying some of the partners, and some of the other partners just picked up another drive line. Anyway, since about 2000, somewhere around there, they've been going to market with their name, and Yaskawa's been around. Well, they're globally the biggest. They're the largest drive manufacturer. So they're assembled in Chicago area, Illinois. There's different plants around there, but it is a Japanese drive, Japanese company. So, but yeah, they've been around a while. Anything else you can think of?
I'm still hyped on the deragger thing you got.
Yeah. No, it's a great feature. It's definitely,
Yes, it is.
it's really, I know it's helped out City of Tampa quite a bit,
Yeah,
so. Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of nice features in the IQ pump. Like this isn't a standard P1000 series drive. It has special firmware in it. The IQ pump, which has a whole bunch of additional parameters. So you can do a lot of different features. And it also gives you the ability to network the drives. So you can do master follower type scenarios and have them alternate automatically. So you don't have the need for a PLC to control them.
right.
If you have these out at like a remote lift station, or where we've used them a lot is in buildings, doing the service pumps for the water pressure. When you've had 3 or 4, you can multiplex them, and the drives do it all by themselves. So, a lot of features in there. Anything else you can think of?
There you go.
Yeah.
Good.